Hello, and welcome to another episode of Taylor Talks Comics. My name is Taylor, and I'm here today to go over the new catalog from Fantagraphics. Um, they are my favorite publisher in comics. They just dropped a new catalog for summer 2024, and I figured this is something I knew I wanted to do is highlight these publishers that I love, especially the smaller publishers. But definitely be going over all these catalogs, and I figured this would be a good time to go over the something on my shirt. The winter 2024 catalog for Fantagraphics as well. I was browsed through there and hit some highlights because those books have not been released as well yet. And if this is something you want to see me do with for other publishers, drop in the comments other publishers you'd like me to go over the catalogs for upcoming books, and I'll be happy to do that. But I've always been excited every time Fantagraphics drops a new catalog because they show off the books with some artwork on the inside, and a lot of these times these are published or new cartoonists or new books I've never heard of that I can put on my radar. And also it's a good way to find out some of the cartoonists that I've already bought stuff from or read that are coming out with new material. I can find that out as well. So let's hop to it. I'm going to share my screen. While I'm doing this, please give the video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and the best thing you could do to support this channel that doesn't cost you a dime is to share this channel with your friends. Any of your comic book loving friends, share it. You just put on your social media that you enjoyed this content. That'd be awesome if you could do that. And tag me in it too so I can see it. All right, so this is a winter catalog. I'm not going to hit every single book on this one. I just want to highlight some of them just because this catalog's already been out. First, I would like to say Red Room, Crypto Killers by Ed Piscor. This is the third volume of Red Room, which is a splatterpunk gore fest that Ed Piscor has been working on over the last few years. It's definitely plus for mature readers, and these are the trim size of like a normal average comic book or trade paperback, if you're familiar with that. I personally think this is the best artwork of Ed's career, and the story is great too. If you're into horror, if you don't mind a little gore, definitely try this out. The whole concept is there's a dark web where people are recording murders on camera and getting paid in cryptocurrency for committing certain acts on there, similar to what someone would do on YouTube or even OnlyFans, if you're into that. But instead, it's murder rather than anything else you'd see on those two avenues. And it has a whole interconnecting story going on throughout the background of all of this craziness. Each issue each issue was made to be self-contained, so you can pick up any single issue and pick it and read it and like it. It's kind of like the Jim Shooter method of Marvel, or every issue could be someone's first issue. But then you're rewarded for reading each issue as an ongoing saga, and I really enjoyed it. I got it in singles and then also trade paperbacks, and hopefully one day it'll release a oversized hardcover. But for now, you'll have to settle for these trade paperbacks, which are all great, and they include lots of extras. If you're into like process work, you can definitely find a lot of that in here. Ed Piscor, I guess I should have said, most famous probably for Hip Hop Family Tree and cartoonist Kayfabe. He's on that YouTube channel with Jim Rugg, and then also X-Men Grand Design. This is just his latest project, and now he's working on a daily comic strip, which is awesome. Fat Cup by Johnny Ryan. Johnny Ryan's the subversive outlaw cartoonist. He's been banned on Instagram like 17 times or something crazy. So subversive and outlaw that he has even offended R. Crumb. I think Robert Crumb has said that his artwork is, I don't know how he worded it, but it was something like infantile and garbage or something silly. So if you're offending R. Crumb, then you're doing something right. But this is a graphic novel from Johnny Ryan, which we don't see a lot of. And it's about a cop. It says upholding crime and corruption, one fast food joint at a time. You can see some of the artwork here on the right. It's gonna be black and white with some spot colors. So this will be a hardcover, $29.99, 192 pages, and the trim size will be 9x12. Definitely 18 plus. Johnny Ryan stuff is not for kids. He's most famous for Prison Pit and Angry Youth comics. if you have not read those. Then we have Search and Destroy Volume 1 by Atsushi Kaneko. This is a reimagining of a Osamu Tezuka story. Dororo. Sorry, I can't say that. You see some of the brilliant artwork on the right. I'm really excited for this one. This is a manga. And Osamu Tezuka is the mangaka that did Astro. I mean, he's the god of manga. He in his life he released so many amazing manga. Astro Boy is probably the most famous. But he also did shoot. I'm losing my mind here. Phoenix was one of them. I have one right here that I'm drawing a blank on. Oh, sorry, I have a bunch over here. The Book of Human Insects. Blackjack was the one I was trying to think of, which needs to be brought back into print. But so many manga that Osamu Tezuka did, and so influential to so many different cartooning and animation and stuff going forward. But this is a reimagining. You can see the artwork looks very much different. Atsushi Kaneko is most famous for Bambi and her Peak Gun, which is something I want to read. But this will be 3 volumes, and they put in here very nicely, and I appreciate that when publishers do this. 3-volume series from spring 2024 to spring 2026. So that tells me we'll get one a year every spring, all 3 volumes by 2026. It looks to be 224 pages. It will be a paperback, priced at $14.99, and it'll be tankobon sized. And continuing in the winter catalog, we have Adventures of the Gummy Bears, A New Beginning, Disney Afternoon Adventures, Volume 4. Oh, I should have said the age range on that one. Sorry. 16 plus for the Search and Destroy. This one is all ages. Well, it says 14 and up on this one. That's really interesting that it says 14 and up. But this is yes, Disney Afternoon Adventures Volume 4. Each one has kind of had like a different character on the cover or titled something differently. None of these can be truly I mean, you can read any of these volumes out of order. They don't even say the volume number on the spine, I don't think. So don't let that volume 4 scare you off. But previously released, we had Darkwing Duck. Was on the cover of the first one. I think we had Tailspin was on one of them. I'm trying to remember it was on volume 3. But regardless, these are the comics that were originally printed in the Disney Afternoon Adventures. They're like digest-sized magazines that were in like the grocery aisle, like next to like the Archie digests and whatnot. I used to get them and read them as a kid. But these are collecting all the comics that were in those magazines, which is awesome that these are being preserved for future audiences, because these are definitely adored by 90s kids. But in here, it's not just gummy bears. They just have like a title character on these books. You'll see also in here DuckTales, Darkwing Duck. I think it says Tailspin will be in here as well. Chip and Dale, Rescue Rangers, and I think that's all I can see on here. Oh, Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers was volume 3. You can see all 3 volumes down here. Again, this is a catalog. Fantagraphics puts together beautiful catalogs. You can see right here the other 3 volumes available. And this will be hardcover for $34.99, 212 pages, and it will measure out at 7.8 inches by 10.6. See some of the artwork on the side there. Blessed Be by Rick Altergott. This one is one I'm excited for. This will be released in February. And it is $24.99. It's a hardcover, 152 pages, 8 inches by 10.75. And it will be full color, as you can see on the right there, 18 plus. Rick Altergott, though, is one of the 90s independent cartoonists, like same era as like Pete Bagg and Dan Klaus, Chris Ware, like those guys. And he was always like the cartoonist. Like he was like everybody's favorite cartoonist. Dan Klaus and Pete Bagg and those guys would always praise his work. I think a lot of those I don't want to put words in those guys' mouths, but a lot of those cartoonists would praise Rick Altergott's work. I have the omnibus, the Doofus omnibus, which has a lot of his work, but this is stuff that's either never been, I think I asked him on Facebook or Instagram because he posted some Like the cover of this is like, hey, this is coming out. And I asked him if this is like all new material or old collected material, because I don't know if all of its stuff's been collected before. But he said mostly new material. So that's really exciting because we haven't got new Rick Altergott in a long time. It said Blessed Be reads like an R-rated Mad Magazine parody of Our Town, written by John Waters and drawn by Mort Drucker and Wally Wood. Altergott both skewers and celebrates an eerie realm of 70s men's magazines and small-town conservatism. Cult favorite since the 1990s among intellectuals and Philistines alike for his impeccably crafted brand of lowbrow humor. Cartoonist Rick Altergott has never crafted a full-length graphic novel until now. So you can see the artwork on the right there. Yeah, that looks. Oh, yeah, there we have a blurb from Dan Klaus right here. Okay, so I didn't want to put words in people's mouths, but Dan Klaus right here. It says he's the unsung genius of American comedy, an amazingly well-crafted conflation of queasy psychology, submoronic toilet humor, and fine art. Dan Klaus, a master of words. This is a great one. This is Walt Disney's Mickey and Donald's Mickey's Craziest Adventures by Louis Trondheim and Nicholas Karamidas. They both did the Donald Duck one, the Donald Duck's funnest adventures or most fun adventures. I forget how it was. What was it was called? It's upstairs. I can't find it just yet. But that book I got and was released by Fantagraphics, and it was one of the funniest comics I read all year. This was previously released by IDW a couple years ago. Now it's being reprinted by Fantagraphics, and it looks by that picture to be the same, almost like the same exact book. Only instead of IDW, it'll say Fantagraphics on the spine. It doesn't look like it's going to be much different. I might try to get a copy and to compare the two. But the IDW one went out of print real fast and is going for crazy prices on the secondary market. So pick this up. It's only 48 pages, but it is a $22.99 for a hardcover. But it is oversized too. It's 9.5 by 12.6. The conceit here is that Louis Trondheim and Nicholas Karamidas went garage sailing and found all these old classic Mickey Mouse comics that had never been released before, not in to a wide market. They found them, and then they did some research and found out that they were released to a small market somehow. So they rediscovered them, patched them together, put them into a graphic novel. Whether that's true or not, that story you have to find out for yourself. But regardless, I can tell you this is a brilliant, brilliant comic. The cartooning is amazing. I loved it, and I love anytime you see Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck taken to places or done with art styles that they've never been done before. Because I love Floyd Gottfredson and Carl Barks, as much as the next guy, but I like to see new cartoonist interpretations. Then we have the Fabulous Furry Freak Brothers, The Seventh Voyage and Other Follies. This is a continuation of the series. I think it's going to be 7 volumes. This is just the 4th one. By Gilbert Shelton and Dave Sheridan, collecting their Fabulous Furry Freak Brothers underground comics in these beautiful hardcovers with die-cut covers. As you see the cover image there, like the circle on the inside will be cut out, and the full image will be underneath the hardcover. Really, really beautiful package. And these underground comics are hilarious. They're like some of the first stoner comics, I like to call them, which good stoner comics today I think would be like Megan Mogg, that series by Simon Hanselman. Stoner movies, I mean, you got like Cheech and Chong, Bill and Ted, Harold and Kumar, I guess. They're like those kinds of like movies. That's kind of the vibe here. But this is like the first of that first iteration, and maybe the best of that genre. They're just wacky, crazy fun. The art style is like ultra detailed and just like manic. You can see right there on the side, just like total like mark making all over the page. And this will be 144 pages. It'll be 8.3 inches by 10.6, just like the other ones. And this will be 16 and up are the ages on this one. They don't. Oh man, see, they should have shown the other volumes on the bottom here. This is the 4th one. I think there's gonna be 7. I don't know if it tells me right here. If I can find out real quickly. Yes, 7 graphic albums. So it'll be 7 total on your shelf, and they all look beautiful. Trying to see if I find any other ones that are. Oh, Venus Atlas Comics Library Volume 2, Venus Volume 2. This is a big one. So this includes artwork by Bill Everett, Dr. Michael Fasalo. Oh, he's the editor. Sorry. But Bill Everett, is he the only artist in this one? I know this was a big series. To some of the finest pre-code horror, the side of Graham Ingalls. It looks like it's just Bill Everett is the only one credited on this. Okay, so this is the Atlas series, though. So Marvel has farmed out their Golden Age stuff when they were called Atlas Comics to Fantagraphics, which is fantastic because this was stuff that Marvel really wasn't doing much with. I don't think they thought their average Marvel audience was much into the Golden Age comics. So they sent it to Fantagraphics, which I think is great because Fantagraphics audience is very much into Golden Age comics, just from the success of their Carl Barks line and their EC Comics artist library. So they already had like kind of that built-in audience for that age, that era of comics. This is volume 2. Adventures into Terror was the first one. That one just got released at the time of this recording last week. So this is volume 2, and it's also Venus volume 2. Now, that might be confusing because where's Venus volume 1? I think they'll be released at a later date, hopefully. But the reason why they're doing Venus volume 2 before 1 is that Marvel previously released the Marvel Masterworks of Venus volume 1. So I think Fantagraphics, knowing that people already own that copy, are just releasing the next stories that were never collected. These are not restored the way that Marvel Masterworks are restored. They're restored in a way that I find personally much better. They are done true to the original colors. As you can see on the artwork right there on the right, this looks like, if you're looking at this, this looks like the original scans, the original colors of the comics, as if you pulled them off the racks just yesterday. And this is what the comics actually look like inside the book because they're restored that way. They're not done like the Marvel Masterworks. They'll take it and drop all the color out of it with just the inks left, maybe even re-ink them at points if they need to. And then they'll recolor them with like a more modern flat color. And it's garish at times, and I don't like it because it doesn't look like the original comics anymore. This does. So if you're into like old classic comics and you want them to look like the old classic comics, definitely support this series and pick these up. I'm super excited. I love Bill Everett's work. I have the two Submariner, the two Namor Submariner Golden Age omnibuses that Marvel put out. So I love Bill Everett's Golden Age work, and I'm excited to pick this one up. Oh, it shows you right there, the Adventures into Terror volume at the bottom. Thimble Theater, the pre-Popeye comics of E.C. Cigar, revised and expanded. Okay, so this was originally released by, I think, IDW, but they've now, does it say on here? Sorry, I want to make sure I get this right. Sunday Press. Yes. Okay, so Sunday Press was I don't know if it's an imprint of IDW or if they're their own company and IDW was publishing their works. I don't know how that worked. Regardless, Sunday Press, all their books that they previously released are now with Fantagraphics. These are giant sized books. This is 13 inches by 16 and a half. It'll be 152 pages. So that's why it carries the $100 cover price that it does, because it's a massive book. They're done to be like the true Sunday broadsheet sized comics, because that's what this is collected in here. This is Thimble Theater, which is where is the comic strip that Popeye debuted in. If you weren't aware, so it's called Thimble Theater, and then Popeye was just like a kind of a secondary character, debuted in there, and then became so popular that he kind of took over on his own. And this was previously released with Sunday Press, and again, I think it was through IDW. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but this is expanded with an all-new 4-page all Cigar Sunday section. So that's exciting. So if you have that previous volume, you might want to pick this one up. The artwork, again, looks restored just the way that Fantagraphics does it, where they make it look like the original, which I appreciate. We got a Walt Disney Masters. Oh, here's a huge one. Okay, so My Favorite Thing is Monsters, Book 2 by Emil Ferris. Emil Ferris came onto the scene with the first volume in a huge way. It just exploded. You can see the first volume down there at the bottom of the screen. Like it became like everyone's new favorite comic book when this came out. The artwork on the right you can see is done on like notebook paper and with like just like ballpoint pens on notebook paper. That's literally what it's drawn on and what it looks like on the inside of the book. And it's like this beautiful, like it's comics that you'll like in a way that you'll never see them in any other fashion. And I love when any time you see a new cartoonist or new artist come on and like push the medium of comics in a new direction. That's my like one of my favorite things about comics is when I like open up a comic book and I'm just like I've never seen this before. Like it's amazing. I think the comic book medium is beautiful, and there's so many different things you can do with it. And when I see all the untapped potential and people pushing boundaries like this, I get excited. So this is volume 2, 412 pages. It will be paperback, and it'll be $39.99. 8.1 inches by 10.5, which I think is the same exact size as the volume 1, which was also clocked in at around 400 pages. So it'll look beautiful on the shelf next to that one. I can already see the spine matches too, and you can see the cover there. But it's the most anticipated graphic novel of 2024, concluding the story of young Karen Reyes, the most inspiring monster in contemporary fiction. So it's set against the tumultuous political backdrop of late 60s Chicago. My favorite thing is Monsters Book 2 is the eagerly awaited conclusion to one of the most anticipated graphic novels of the past decade. In Book 2, dark mysteries past and present continue to abound in the tumultuous, I can't say that word, and violent Chicago summer of 1968. So it's like, it's just fascinating. You didn't pick up the first volume, but it's really just like this young girl confronting real life monsters, but like they're done like in the style of like Universal monsters. It's just it's an experience that everyone needs to read for themselves. I don't want to give too much away. The Complete Web of Horror, Bernie Wrightson, Michael Kaluta, Ralph Reese. This was a magazine that came out back in the day. It was a creator-controlled horror magazine from 1969. And this collects all the issues, which I don't. How many issues did this last? It's only a handful. Let's see. All 3 published issues, so it didn't last very long. But it'll be 296 pages, $49.99 for this hardcover. This is a great piece of comic book history. You can see some artwork on the right here. Black and white magazine. If you're into like creepy and eerie horror mags, this is like this. These came out just before that, I think. Yeah. But these were independently done. There's Otto Bender stories in here that were adapted by some of these artists, and but Fantagraphics has done this quite a bit, collecting these old magazines. Tops was the most recent one, which is a great book. I have that. I can show it off on the channel if you want me to. Just put that in the comments. They've also done like Wits End. I'm trying to think of other magazines they've collected in this fashion. But it's a really cool piece. I mean, having a magazine that only lasted 3 issues, you can imagine that would just like fall into the wayside of like comic book. Like it would die off and nobody would ever know it or talk about it or whatever for years to come. That's one of the great things that Fantagraphics does by preserving these old classic comics, is like making sure they continue on for generations to come, that people will know them. It's like preserving that history, which is great. Complete Peanuts paperbacks. Cayman's Calamity and Other Stories, the Jack Cayman volume. This is the EC Comics. These are hardcovers. These are beautiful. I have every single volume. I've definitely showed these off on my channel. I mean, go in the archives and look at those. I need to update that video, though. I think the last time I updated showing them all off was a couple volumes ago. But these are hardcovers. They're 248 pages-ish. Usually they're around 212 to 250 pages. $35 for this one. It'll be 7.3 inches by 10.3, which matches all the other ones. See on the spine there, they have very beautiful spines. If you follow me on Taylor Talks Comics on Instagram, I always share it off the collection whenever there's a new volume out because they look great on the shelf together. The introduction is by Tommy Burns of the EC Fan Addict fame on Facebook. He's the one that started that group. These are collecting a bunch of stories by Jack Kamen, written by Al Feldstein, Otto Binder, Gardner Fox, and Carl Wessler. And it's called Keeman's Calamity. They're always titled after one of the comics within the story, which you can see is highlighted on the right here. And it's called Keeman's Calamity, which I think this is the first time. It is the first time where the artist in the book, because these all highlight different artists. Like each volume is about a different artist's work in one or two genres of EC Comics. But the first time the artist's name is in the title of the book, Keeman's Calamity. Prince Valiant, we're getting another volume of that. And that's it. That's it for the winter catalog. Let's go back into, there's my face again, the summer 2024 catalog. Let me pull this up and then I will share my screen again. This one has a cover from Charles Burns, which is exciting because we're getting new Charles Burns comics. Maybe not comics, but also it's an art book, but we'll get to that. So I'm going to go over every book in this catalog since this is the new one. And these are things that maybe nobody has seen are coming out. But Mark Twain's War Prayer, illustrated by Seymour Chwast. I probably pronounced that wrong. I apologize. But it's Mark Twain's lambasting of phony warmongering patriotism, reinterpreted by one of the finest contemporary illustrators. Written in 1910, in his 70th year, Mark Twain, having lived through 14 wars waged by his own country on others, declined to publish this poetic, despairing reproof against patriotism. His regular illustrator, Daniel Beard, even urged Twain to issue the piece, to which the author replied, "No, I have told the whole truth in that, and only dead men can tell the truth in this world. It can be published after I'm dead." So it took 13 years after his passing for that prophecy to be fulfilled, and now, another 102 years later, the legendary illustrator and graphic designer Seymour Chwast, himself 92 years young, has fulfilled Beard's dream of enriching the fable with illustration. So you see some of the artwork on the right here. And it has like a painted style here. Like I wish there was a little bit more to the interiors that I could see because it looks very interesting. Like I want to see more. And the cover there is great. I love the cover of the book. I want to see more of this. But there's 104 pages. It'll be full color and black and white, 7 inches by 9 inches, hardcover, $22.99. Is there an age on this one? 16 and up. But I love any sort of this political cartooning, people having a voice about some of the things that are happening, about government and wars and that kind of thing. So I'll definitely be interested to pick this up. All My Oh, geez, I can't talk. All My Bicycles by Power Paola. I'm sorry. I'm going to butcher these names. Feel free to correct me in the comments. I do want to get people's names right. In this non-linear graphic memoir, Power Paola uses bicycles she's owned as a vehicle to explore the world, her relationships, her memories, and herself. So this is a memoir, an autobio comic. Looks like there's some like ink washes and pencil line art there. It looks very emotional, in a great way. All memoirs should be. This will be $19.99. It'll be paperback, 120 pages, full color, 6.7 inches by 9, and is geared for 16 and up. And Power Puela is a Colombian Ecuadorian cartoonist and illustrator based in Buenos Aires, Argentina. She's the author of graphic memoir Virus Tropical that came out in 2011, which became a movie and received critical acclaim worldwide. Up next, we have Atlas Comics, the aforementioned. This is volume 3, In the Days of the Rockets. We have Hank Chapman, Joe Maneely, and Mike Sikowski are credited on this one. Expanding Fantagraphics project to reprint Marvel Comics 1950s genre titles. This volume blasts off to space opera adventure. The cover is amazing. I love old classic sci-fi artwork. Speed Carter Spaceman is the interior art we're seeing here. $49.99. I don't know if I said the trim size here on the last one, but this one will be 336 pages, 8.75 inches by 11.6. And yeah, I haven't got the Adventures in Terror yet. I've ordered it. I'm waiting for it to come in to my house finally. So I've not even seen one of these in hand just yet. I've seen videos of them and they look brilliant. But yeah, this has Joe Manili artwork, which they're releasing an artist edition, they call it, of Joe Manili, which is not like original art. It's just collecting a lot of Joe Manili stuff in a really oversized artwork. And Joe Manili, sadly passed away at a really young age and he worked at Marvel through the 50s. And he passed away just before that Silver Age started with Fantastic Four #1. Stan Lee and everyone around him talked about how he was like their favorite artist to work with, or one of their favorite artists. Like for Stan Lee, it seemed like it was like Ditko, Kirby, and the Manili. And so always like one of the great comic book what ifs. Like, what if Joe Manili was there during the Marvel Silver Age? How would that have changed the Silver Age? So Joe Manili is an artist that I've always wanted to read more of, just for that reason. I love Marvel Silver Age stuff. I love the 50s stuff that I've read. And Joe Manili's comics have not been collected in a great way. So that's one of the big reasons why I'm excited about this Atlas Comics library that Fantagraphics is doing. And I'm excited to pick this one up. J plus K by John Pham. This colorful graphic novel follows lovable losers J and K, whose quotidian adventures are often hilarious and occasionally poignant, calling to mind everything from Peanuts to the works of Simon Hanselman. And then you see someone wearing a Peanuts homage shirt on the right there. John Pham, though, he also did. He's been featured in 2 volumes of Best American Comics. He's a Xeric Grant winner, multiple Ignatz winners. The J plus K? There was a previous volume of this, but I forget what it was called. I don't know if it's on here or not. We see the artwork there on the right. It's like just beautiful cartooning, like very colorful, bright colors, but it's like this like painted style I love. This will be paperback. It'll be $19.99 with French flaps, 160 pages, full color, 7 inches by 9, and geared for ages 16 plus. The Passion of Gengoro Tagami, master of gay erotic manga, volumes 1 and 2, edited by Graham Colbines and Ann Ishii. Series designed by Chip Kidd, introduction by Edmund White. So this is a gay erotic manga that came out in Japan, been brought over here to the States. I don't know if it was originally published in English through Fantagraphics or if there's another publisher that had it first, but I want to say it's always been Fantagraphics. But regardless, reprinted recently by Fantagraphics in the last year. Looks like they're combining the 2 of them into a box set here. You can see the artwork on the right there. It'll be their paperback volumes, be $64.99 for the entire set, which collects the entire thing. 688 pages total, black and white with some color, 7.1 inches by 10.1, ages 18 plus, as you can imagine. And it is a box set, yeah. So you get both paperbacks in a slipcase here. Delights, a story of Hieronymus Bosch. Hieronymus Bosch. In this imaginatively conceived historical graphic novel, Guy Colwell explores the story behind Hieronymus Bosch and his most famous work. How many times can I say that and butcher it? In Guy Colwell's first full graphic novel in over 30 years, we see one painter, Colwell himself, consider another, Hieronymus Bosch. And I'm turning into Sean Connery as I say it. The story behind the latter's most notable work, told in sequential panels. So you see the interior artwork on the right. $29.99 for a hardcover. It'll be black and white, 168 pages, 8 inches by 10.75, 18 plus. And you can see some of the other work by Colwell at the bottom there. Peter and Liza by Miroslav Sekulik Struja. And this resplendently painted graphic novel, a poet and a dancer form a beautiful connection in a bleak world. That artwork looks brilliant. Wow. Yeah, that artwork is brilliant. Like I love the color choices. Having the figures there stand out in the beautiful background. That's really cool. All right, so this is $39.99. It'll be 9 inches by 12 and a half, 176 pages, ages 16 plus. When Peter returns home to civilian life after his 2-year conscription in the ex-Yugoslavian war, he finds himself adrift. Even amidst the most raucous late-night parties, he feels detached from it all, like a ghost haunting the living. But serendipitous encounter with Liza, a dancer, brings a flood of vibrant color into his gray life. Oh, wow. Yeah, I'm going to pick this up because it probably starts off like really gray and like mundane as he's like in the army, and then it probably turns like it's a Wizard of Oz effect. I'm imagining. I hope that's the case. It's like a Wizard of Oz effect where like when he meets Liza, it turns into his colorful world. Yeah, that's definitely going on my list. Hog Book and Laser Eyes, which is like the coolest book title ever. Maria Bamford and Scott Marvel Cassidy. This was previously solicited in another catalog, but it looks like it's been pushed back until now. This is slated for June. Fans of Maria Bamford's acclaimed quasi-autobiographical Lady Dynamite Netflix series already know of her romance with LA painter Scott Marvel Cassidy, as well as her droll pug sidekicks Blueberry and Bert. Now the story has been recounted in this graphic novella written by Bamford Cassidy, drawn by Cassidy, and narrated by the rescue dogs they've adopted. This is amazing. I'm not familiar with Lady Dynamite on Netflix. I know I've seen like it on the menu, but I've not actually watched it. It makes me want to watch it now in order to prepare myself for this release. This will be $19.99. It's a hardcover, 64 pages, oversized. It looks like it's 8.1 inches by 11.4, ages 16 plus. Walt Disney's Donald Duck, the 90th anniversary collection. I think, yeah, okay. So this is, it's got Carl Barks and Don Rosa et al. Is credited in here. Dive into the amazing adventures of Disney's Feisty Fowl with an action-packed, super stuffed comics anthology collecting 90 years of stories by Donald's most beloved writers and artists. So Fantagraphics has been doing an amazing job with the Carl Barks library, which is finishing up soon. I think we only have a few more years till that's finished. The Don Rosa comics have all been collected across 10 volumes, plus some a few other collections. And then the Disney Masters is collecting all the European artists that do stuff with these characters. So just incredible work, but that can be daunting to collect every bit of those. I have all the Carl Barks so far, almost. I think I need a couple more that I need to catch up on. And then the Don Rosa ones, I have all those and a couple of the Disney Masters. But it can be daunting in the shelf space. You know, you've seen the shelves behind me. I have very limited shelf space. I mean, I have lots of shelves, but like, still, all the comics, you can only have so many. So they're doing these like best of collections, which is great for people that want to kind of dive into, find out what all the hullabaloo is up about these characters. This one will be 360 pages. It'll measure out at 7.8 by 10.6 inches. It'll be $60, $59.99. And it doesn't list any other creators, but it's definitely got Barks and Rosa in it, which are the two best in my opinion. Oh, it's got William Van Horn in there as well, it says. Okay. Now, number 13, the new comics anthology. Series edited by Eric Reynolds, cover art by Kayla E. So now is Fantagraphics has done a lot of comic book anthologies in the past. Mome was a big one. What else have we done? Hotwire, which is like the one in the 90s. They have just so many. I'm trying to think of other ones. Yeah, I don't know. Mome was the biggest, the longest running one, though. That's 22 volumes. But now is the latest one they're doing. This is up to volume 13 now. And this is such a great way to find contemporary new cartoonists that are like on the up and up, about to hit it big. And I love that cover by Kayla E. But I love comic book anthologies anyways. I always have like my phone out whenever I'm reading these and like make sure I follow any name I see in the anthology on Instagram and whatnot, so I can keep up on these things, on these cartoonists' work. This will be $12.99. It's a paperback, same as all the other ones. It's 120 pages, 7.2 inches by 10.2 inches. And this particular volume collects Kayla E. It's got Noah Van Sciver, who's a huge superstar of the list here. Josh Simmons, Emil Fries Ernst is another big one. Steven Weissman. Trying to see if any other names pop out here. No, I think that's about it. But either way, I mean, you got to pick this up if you want to, get in on the ground floor of some of these cartoonists. This one was really cool looking. Iris, a novel for viewers, by the Zhang King and Lo Hartog von Banda. But that artwork on this right is like mind blowing. Like it looks like, I don't know, like they use like markers for the coloring, but the artwork itself is just so lively. Like all the figures are moving. I don't know. This looks really brilliant, but available for the first time in English. This first ever Dutch graphic novel is a tour de force in all its 1960s psychedelic pop art and playfully erotic glory. Yeah, psychedelic and pop art. Definitely, I can see with the artwork. This is $24.99. It is a paperback, 160 pages, 7.5 inches by 10. Stick figures, the cool and comical, the crazy. This is another Drew Friedman book. Drew Friedman is like the all-time great portrait artist. I love that's called Stick figures. It's like comedy Stick. These are the funny people, from New Yorker to Mad Magazine, of him doing portraits of these cartoonists. He did the Underground cartoonist one last year that came out. This one's $29.99. It's a hardcover, full color, 9 inches by 12.5, and it's 128 pages. Never Again Will I Visit Auschwitz, a graphic family memoir of trauma and inheritance by Ari Richter. In this debut graphic memoir, New York-based artist Ari Richter weaves together two haunting stories: his grand and great-grandfather's imprisonment in Dachau and Auschwitz, and his own awakening to the contemporary authoritarianism and continuing crisis of anti-Semitism, with delicacy, immediacy, and an attention to surreal detail. I think due to recent events in our news, this one might hit a little bit closer to home for a lot of people and have an even more impactful and serious tone than it already would have. So definitely want to read this, but it'll be with a heavy heart. This will be $34.99 hardcover, 256 pages, full color, 7.5 inches by 10.5. Anti-Semitism has unfortunately never gone away. Forever. But so it's never not been a topic that should be discussed. But maybe even more in recent events, more so. Braba, a Brazilian comics anthology, edited by Rafael Grampa and Jainina de Luna. A showcase of innovative Brazilian comics curated and acclaimed artists by acclaimed artists Rafael Grampa and comics editor Jainina de Luna. I'm probably butchering that. Rafael Grampa. I'm pretty sure I'm pronouncing that correctly. He's an amazing cartoonist in his own right. He has a Batman series coming out right now. Batman Gargoyle of Gotham. Not even credits in here. But this will be a new anthology that they're coming out with. 168 pages, paperback, $29.99, 7.5 by 11. And I love this because it's showcasing Brazilian cartoonists, which will be a whole slew of cartoonists that I'm not familiar with personally, and probably a lot of people. And hopefully this leads to a lot of these Brazilian cartoonists having more eyes on their work for sure in America and, more English-speaking countries, but also maybe getting more work in these countries, maybe getting their own graphic novels and stuff put out to the world. American audiences have grown familiar with international comics through an influx of European and Bandai Dessinée and Japanese manga that have been translated into English over the past 2 decades. But there are vivacious creative scenes happening worldwide, notably in Brazil. So definitely pick that up. Comics by Charles Burns. From the beguiling imagination of Charles Burns, 80s comics 80 comic books that never were. So this is, like I said at the beginning, at the top of this catalog, this is a art book. It's going to be $24.99 for a hardcover, 80 pages, full color, 7.5 inches by 10 inches. But there's no actual comics in here. It's just Charles Burns, who's one of the all-time brilliant artists of all of comics. I don't care what anybody says. Black Hole is my all-time favorite horror comic. But this is Charles Burns just kind of messing around and drawing 80 comic book covers for comics that have never existed. There's like coming from his brain. Like this one's called The Claw, a new kind of magazine all about teenage romance, mystery, and excitement. And you can see in here at the bottom, there's some panels and whatnot. So it's just like Charles Burns is experimenting, letting these ideas transfer from his brain to the page. I'll pick up anything with Charles Burns' name on it, and I'm really excited for this release. And also, I must say, the design there with that red band on the spine, it looks like it'll match up with a lot of his other previous Fantagraphics releases, which if anybody from Fantagraphics is watching this, or Charles Burns, please reprint some of those earlier releases, like the was it a Big Baby and I'm drawing a blank here. I don't know, but I know I need those in my collection, and I can't. It's hard to find those, I will say. We need early Charles Burns collected. Speaking of Carl Barks, the aforementioned, this is volume 3 of the Carl Barks library, the complete Carl Barks Disney library, Mystery of the Swamp. So these have been released out of order. I think the first one released was volume 5, and then they've they filled in the gaps from volume 5 to like 26, I want to say. I don't know offhand. But then they finally released volume 4 just last year, and this is volume 3. So we're finally getting some of this early Carl Barks work, which is exciting. I love being able to look at a cartoonist's work from beginning to end and seeing how it evolves. So reading early Carl Barks is something that I've always wanted to do. This will be the same as all previous volumes as far as the trim size and whatnot goes. 240 pages, 7.5 by 10.25, $35 cover price. But also, the volume number's not on the spine, so it's not going to look weird on your shelf if you pick up any random volume of Carl Barks. But if you want to try out Carl Barks and see what all the hubbub is about with how great his cartooning is and his stories, just pick up any volume you find and read them. They're amazing comics. They're so full of adventure and whimsy and like comedic moments and just like fun, wholesome comics. I can't recommend these enough. But yeah, I'm excited to pick up this one. Foul Play and Other Stories, Jack Davis and L. Feldstein. This one's exciting. Jack Davis is my all-time favorite EC comic book artist. As I talked about earlier, I have all these volumes. Foul Play is a very famous comic strip in the EC library because this was talked about in front of the state Senate hearings that eventually led to the Comics Code Authority and almost the demise of comics in general. I can go on about how awful that whole situation was and Frederick Wortham and everything he did to almost kill comics. But I digress. This was talked about in front of the state Senate, which makes it famous. You can see on the right, Foul Play is in reference to a baseball story where the field is not made out of the normal stuff that you see in a baseball field. It might be made out of some entrails and other things from humans, because this is a horror volume of Jack Davis, 312 pages, black and white artwork, 7.25 inches by 10.25, just like all the other ones in the great EC Comics library that Fantagraphics has been producing. $35 for this one. Must buy. Pogo, the complete syndicated comic strips, volume 9, A Distant Past Yet to Come. Walt Kelly, series edited by Mark Evanier and Eric Reynolds. Collects the years 1965 through 1966 of the classic comic strip that feels timelier than ever. Pogo is a comic strip I've never read, but I want to, and I need to. It's the most contemporary and famous reference I can make is that Jeff Smith of Bone fame, he did Bone, a great comic book that everyone's read or should read, has cited Pogo as a major influence on Bone. So if you're into Bone, in the cartooning style of Jeff Smith, you might want to try out Pogo. But it had a lot of like, there's a newspaper strip and it had a lot of like political satire and social commentary in it. And I need to read it because I love political and social commentary in my comics. Fabulous Furry Freak Brothers, High Times and Misdemeanors. This is the 5th volume released. I already talked about this great series of hardcovers. This one is $22.99, 144 pages, in the 5th volume. And these I should have expressed that these are being released out of order, so it's not released like volume 1 through 7. I believe volume 7 was actually the first one that came out, or volume 6 maybe. But regardless, we'll have them all by when it's all said and done. We'll have all 7 volumes on our shelves, surely. Future by Tomi Masturi. Tomi Masturi, which I hope I'm not butchering his name, is an amazing artist. Like his artwork is like mind-blowingly just like psychedelic mashed with like boundary pushing subversive style, like pushing where comics, the limits of comics. But this one is a graphic genre mashing magnum opus from one of the most restlessly creative voices in comics. It's just mind-blowing stuff. I love everything I've read from him. He's a Finnish cartoonist, an illustrator, graphic designer, editor, publisher, and artist. And he lives in Finland. 288 pages, $39.99 for the paperback with French flaps. It'll be 8.25 by 11.75, so a little oversized. Yeah, just that cover there. I mean, perfect example of what you get with Tomi Masturi. Atlas Comics Volume 4. This is War Comics. Excuse me while I take a drink. So this is War Comics Volume 1. So Atlas Comics Library Volume 4, but War Comics Volume 1. So they put both those on there in case you only want the War Comics or, Adventures in Terror Comics or what have you. Credited artists, though. I mean, this is a who's who. Gene Colan, Joe Manili, and Russ Heath et al. You can see the artwork over there. I've already talked about how great these are restored to be just like the originals. War comics of this era hold a special place in my heart. My favorite are always going to be Harvey Kurtzman's Frontline Combat and Two Fisted Tales. But when you put Joe Manili, Gene Cole, and Russ Heath, I'm going to read it. And I'm going to love it. So yeah, this is 180 pages for a $34.99 hardcover. 8.75 by 11.6 inches, and will match the rest of the Atlas library. Marcel Lebrum by Attilio Micheluzzi. I'm sorry if I butchered that. Correct me in the comments. The first 21st century English language translation of Italian master Attilio Micheluzzi, a rousing adventure story that takes place in the Middle East during World War II. The artwork on the right looks amazing. I love the lettering in that and the line art. It definitely looks European, like that clair ligne, the clear line style of the European artists. But when was this originally printed? He drew many graphic novels between 1974 and 1990. Okay, so this is the first Fantagraphics' first entry in his planned Micheluzzi library, which will reprint all his most significant works. Okay, that's exciting. I love when Fantagraphics does this. They did this with Jacques Tardy, or are still doing it. I think Jacques Tardy, the French cartoonist, they released 17 of his graphic novels, and they still have more to come. Hopefully, they have more to come. There's still more that have not been reprinted in English. A couple of days from now, or within the next week, I have a haul where I hold 5 of those Jacques Tardy books I can show off if you're interested in that. But I love whenever they take a cartoonist that's never been really given the treatment in English in this wide audience and make a commitment to print most of their works. So I'm going to pick this up because I love that. And I trust Fantagraphics' commitment to release most of these, if not all of them. $24.99, 144 pages, black and white artwork, 8 inches by 10.5. And it says, let me see here. This one is in the tradition of Milton Caniff and Hugo Pratt. Micheluzzi's artwork in these Fantagraphics editions have been meticulously and lovingly restored by the artist's daughter, Agnes Micheluzzi, and will be the finest reproductions in the artist's career. That's exciting. Milton Caniff of Terry and the Pirates fame and Hugo Pratt those are two amazing cartoonists of completely different sides of the globe of what Michael Lucy's from. So if they're, I wonder if that was an inspiration for him. But regardless, I'm gonna pick that up. I love that. Mothballs by Sol Otero. This moving family saga, a teenage woman uncovers the hushed history of sexual violence that shattered her grandma's life. This will be $29.99 for this paperback. 336 pages. So it'll be a thick one. Full color, 7 inches by 9.5. So it'll be moving seamlessly between Italy at the beginning of the 20th century and Argentina at the beginning of the 21st century. Mothballs draws a poetic comparison between the lives of grandmother and granddaughter. I love that. So this is like a memoir showing two different time periods, two different locations, but kind of like how those lives intersect and compare and contrast. That looks, and I love the artwork. The artwork definitely looks very personal. What We Mean by Yesterday by Benjamin Mara. This one's exciting. So Benjamin Mara, who recently, or not recently, sorry, previously released Nightlife. He did. I always draw a blank when I'm trying to recall the catalogs of these previous cartoonists' work. Let me see if Night Business was the one I'm thinking of. American Blood and Terror Assaulter, Amawat. Yes, I have all those books. They're all great. This is a story of a man driven to the edge and beyond by the world around him. But if he's a good guy, then who is the bad guy? You see on the right, this is like Benjamin Mara. If you're familiar with his work, you're gonna see like the line work and figure drawing is very much the same. But this is like black and white and a little more of that clear line style, honestly, that I previously mentioned. Done like a daily comic strip, and that's what this was originally released as on Benjamin Mara's Instagram, and it was like getting rave reviews on Instagram. Reading comic strips on Instagram isn't my favorite thing to do, so I never really dove into it. I was waiting for it to be collected because I figured it would be, and I'm excited that it finally is. But Bruce Barnes is a school teacher having yet another shit day. His students are a disrespectful nightmare, gleefully relishing the misery they put him through. But today is even worse than usual. And after a particularly grim run-in with a student, he heads to the break room to bum a smoke off another member of the faculty. After lighting up, he's told the cigarette is laced with amphetamines. From there, Bruce rides his rage snake from the classroom to the ends of the cosmos and back, fighting, effing, shooting, racing, and tripping his way from one impulsive move to the next, reminiscent of films like Falling Down and shows like Breaking Bad. That's amazing. I grew up on Falling Down. Michael Douglas, like that movie is amazing. It's one of our favorites in my family. And then Breaking Bad is just like a brilliant TV show. And then you throw in Benjamin Mara's cartooning and his humor. Just amazing stuff. Definitely picking that up. And this is volume 1, so there'll be more to come. Did I say how big this was? 380 pages. Wow. Paperback, $24.99. 5x7, so it's gonna be like tankobon. Oh man, it's gonna be like the size of a tankobon, like manga. It's like Benjamin Mara's manga. That's amazing. I can't freaking wait for this. When's this come out? August. Wow, that's like almost a year away. Walt Disney, Donald and Mickey in Metropolis and Faust. This is of the Disney Masters line, I think, right? Disney Originals. But this will be the European cartoonist doing Disney and Mickey, or Donald and Mickey, sorry. In the tradition of the Prince and the Pauper, sorry, and Mickey's Christmas Carol, Disney's top stars dive back into the world's wild spoofs of great literature. Donald meets demons in the perilous past, and then Mickey gets roboticized in the far-flung future. That artwork on the right looks awesome. They definitely pulled the right page for the solicit here. $29.99, 208 pages, 7.8 inches by 10.6, ages 14 and up. And that's it. That's all she wrote. This was a longer video than I expected, but it's the Fantagraphics catalog. I wanted to go through the entire thing. I hope there's some stuff in there that you thought was interesting or enjoyable, or maybe something that you might put on your radar. If you're watching this and you've not bought anything from Fantagraphics, comment down below and let me know what kind of comics you're into. Maybe there's something I can recommend for you, or let me know if there's any of those books on there that struck your fancy, and if you're going to be buying those. If you're a longtime Fantagraphics fan, let me know in the comments what your favorite Fantagraphics books are and which ones of those catalogs you're going to be ordering. But also give the video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, share the video with your friends. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you guys on a later video.